Okay, it says it's going, so
Okay.
let's hope.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, I will start. It says, what do you think of when you hear or see the word pornography? If you're anything like me, you might only have negative thoughts pass through your mind when you think of that word. Whether you know someone that uses pornography or not is unfortunately extremely common in society. General statistics have shown that 28,258 users are viewing pornography on the internet every second. 40 million American people are regularly visiting porn sites, and every 39 minutes, a new pornographic video is being created in the United States. Many people believe they will never get caught in the trafficking of pornography, but considering how common and accessible it is nowadays, one does not have to seek it out to be in a position to view pornography. I remember the first time I overheard my friends talking about pornography. I immediately went home to tell my mom. I was shocked that there was an industry out there that promoted or specialized in such a thing. I couldn't fathom that people would participate and actually enjoy such content. Unfortunately, my family was affected by this plague. At the mere age of 12, my brother was introduced to pornography by my older cousins. While this may seem like a very young age to engage in pornography, it actually meets the norms for the age that adolescents start to view it. In a study conducted of 1,500 participants between the ages of 10 to 17, 42% of them had viewed pornography within that year. Most of these participants, including my brother, were actively looking for pornography, but it somehow was introduced to them through friends and accidental clicking on the internet. For years, my parents struggled with comprehending and finding the best help possible for my brother to overcome this addiction. My mom felt that it was her fault for not being more aware of what was going on in his life and started to feel that she had failed as a parent. It caused a lot of stress within my parents' teenagers because naturally they started to place blame on one another. Not only did the mood change between the home, but the relationship that my parents had shared with my brother was now hanging high on them. He pulled away from them, became more secluded, and his whole demeanor had changed. This type of behavior is common among those that are hiding the use of pornography, especially within relationships. Regardless of the relationship, the feelings of betrayal, mistrust, and devastation are felt worldwide. This type of impact at such a young age leads boys or anyone who uses pornography to have misconceptions about a healthy sex life. Before they even understand what love is, they cut themselves short of such a feeling because they are desensitized to those feelings. Not only does their view of the opposite sex change, but also their view of themselves. Those that view pornography typically struggle with self-confidence and are constantly left with a conscience of guilt and shame. This lack of self-confidence and feelings of guilt and shame can cause even deeper social, emotional, and psychological problems for the victim. Just how I wasn't aware that my 12-year-old brother was being pornography, I'm sure that there's someone out there that is struggling with this addiction that you may not know of. Even though this issue has become widely accepted among society, it needs to be taken seriously and taken care of before it becomes the norm in their lives. Families suffer greatly because of the impact that pornography has on their relationship, whether it be the relationship between the spouses or the children, and whether they show it or not, someone is always suffering. The government has made a good effort in trying to stop child pornography. There's a law that prohibits child pornography, but the person who looks at the naked picture of a child, they can be sent to jail. While I wholeheartedly believe this is an effective law that helps with certain issues of pornography, it doesn't help address the whole problem. This only covers parts of the issue. I believe that the law prohibiting child pornography is educational for parents. It brings parents' attention to the fact that there is a serious issue with viewing pornography, especially considering that a law was made to protect underage children. However, this law doesn't take away the responsibility of the parents. This law should encourage the parents to be aware of who is viewing pornography in their home and how they can help their children. Therefore, the government has a lot of work to do. They have already shown us that they are capable of creating regulation to help prevent child pornography, and so they should be expected to have the same effect as those that view pornography as a whole. While it may be difficult for government to fully address the situation right away, they can continue to implement laws that attack the situation one step at a time. The first step for citizens to address the issue of pornography is to vote for people that care about this issue and find out harming to the family. They will have the biggest impact on helping make this issue a reality. Done. That was so long. I'm sorry.
Yours has a lot more information than mine.
Well, no, it really is honestly my blog that I wrote, and I just took out a few paragraphs and added in the government one, which is long, but
I totally forgot about the whole law thing, and I was like, oh no. So I just a minute ago put something real quick, but I don't know, whatever.
I was trying to do searching in airports and I hate searching about pornography.
I know.
I'm like, am I giving my computer viruses?
Yeah. I started thinking about that when I was doing that, and I was like, oh, there's all these searches about different things, and I'm like, I just told my husband, I'm like, just so you know, my topic is.
If you ever go through our history, I swear.
Yeah. So I need to ask questions, but it's hard because we both have the same topic.
I know.
So I wonder if it'd be okay if I read mine and then we just have like questions afterwards.
Yes, I agree. Let's do that.
All right. Okay. Do you want to mute your mic and then I'll go ahead?
Sorry, it's so loud.
Oh no, it's fine. Okay. And then I can't see you because I'm reading off my blog. So, all right. So pornography use has become widespread in our communities, nation, and worldwide. What once was an isolated and private act is now commonplace. Pornography used to be reserved for a small amount of society, and you would find it on the top magazine racks behind counters at stores. However, it is now available through various media outlets. There are laws regarding the age of viewers. However, many times people, including children, can still enter a porn site with a click of a button. A person can enter a world of fantasy and erotica. Statistics show that 40 million Americans are regular visitors to pornography websites. Despite the widespread acceptance of pornography, the National Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families found that 47% of families in the United States reported that pornography is a problem in their home. They also reported that pornography use increases the infidelity rate by more than 300%. Personally, I have seen the negative effects that pornography has on families, including my own. At the age of 13, my brother-in-law accidentally saw pornography while playing on his computer. At first, he was confused and bothered by it, but became very curious quickly. His curiosity turned into occasional viewing, and then he became a frequent user. When he was married at 24, his wife had no idea of his problem. She found out about his secret when she was 8 months pregnant with their first child. She felt betrayed, ugly, unacceptable, insecure, and alone. The viewing of pornography had a vicious cycle in their marriage. My brother-in-law was so consumed by pornography that he had problems with intimacy. This caused stress within his marriage, and the stress would cause him to turn to pornography, and they would go around and around and around. He felt ashamed, confused, and completely inadequate as a man, husband, and father. At one point, his wife felt there was no other choice but to get a divorce. She didn't want their son to grow up in an environment such as that. Thankfully, before the divorce became a reality, my brother-in-law sought help for his problem. As a couple, they worked hard to save their marriage and family through individual and couple therapy. They also relied heavily on their faith. Although it has been almost 14 years, it is still something that he works on constantly. He knows that it is something that he can fall back into without deliberate effort on his part. So why am I telling you this story? Well, the story isn't just about my brother-in-law. The story could be your neighbor, family member, spouse, or your own child, or even yourself. Thankfully, my family was able to save their marriage, but it might be too late if we don't take a stand and speak up. Children are also the victim of pornography as well. It can have major consequences for their future relationships. The American Psychology Association states that pornography can cause teens to have unrealistic views of relationships, view women as objects, and have a recreational attitude towards sex, meaning that they don't need a relationship to have intimate relations. This can and will have negative impacts on families. So what can we do? The awareness regarding pornography is strong in our society. In fact, it's often joked about on TV shows and between friends, but the negative impacts are rarely talked about. Primarily, we need to educate ourselves. We need to understand the impacts of pornography has on individuals, marriages, and families. We need to be brave and have enough courage to speak out regarding this detrimental effects on individuals and families. It is only when the lines of communication are open that we can make a difference. We can do this by opening our mouths, sharing research, and having heart-to-heart conversations with our loved ones. We can also take an active role in our children's internet and media use and use education as a tool of prevention when speaking with our youth. There are wonderful resources for families that help parents speak about the harmful effects of pornography. Remember, my brother-in-law started viewing pornography at age 13, and negative impacts are still with him today. So prevention is the key. We can inspire a new generation through open communication and education. Websites like Fight the New Drug and others can be of use. Remember, there are those that are struggling with this issue. They're just waiting for someone to talk to. When we reach out to others with love and compassion, we can make a difference and help individuals and families. And finally, if you're suffering with pornography addiction, reach out to others. There are resources to help that are available. You don't have to be trapped in a debilitating addiction any longer. Talk to others and learn how to break the chain of pornography addiction.
Yay!
I'm like, done. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know. First of all, wow. How hard would it be to be your sister-in-law? I mean, like, I always commend people that see past that and try to work on it. It would be very difficult, I think, for me personally. And I like how, Jesus Christ, he focuses not on the person, but more on the sin. And so it's not like the person's a bad person, it's the sin that they're partaking in, but it's so hard. I mean, and 8 months pregnant, that's still a very not prime time to be telling your wife when she already feels,
right.
probably at her worst.
Yep.
But
and I think education is important too, like not just for society, but like I think like in this case, women need to know that it has nothing to do with them, but it's hard to like not think that because you're just like, what am I lacking that you had to go find? But yeah, it's
100%.
So it's hard.
Which is what I love what you said, prevention and education, because educate is not just that it's a bad thing, it's a bad thing, it's a bad thing, but like you said, that reasons behind why people do it that could help you, I mean, as the partner in the relationship or the child or whoever it may be, to know that, this is why they're doing it. I mean, some cases they do it because they're just perverts and everything, but I don't know. Anyways, I did have I'm sure we looked up some of the similar contrasting views but I did have, because one of the questions says, I know at least one study that supports the opposing view, and she tried to share it with a question. And I found a study that talked about, it was in 2017, and it found that couples had mentioned that pornography was able to give them and their partners different ideas of how to excite their sexual life, and that it actually increased their sexual communication, which is a big reason why people get divorced, because they don't feel connected or because they lose it. So, and I don't know how I would pose this in a sense, but I mean, I guess with that view, would you ever, because the first question says, what's the upside to the contrary perspective? Would you ever present that as like an upside? Like it can help your sexual life, like your communication between your sexual life?
Yeah, I think so I read too that there's like a huge difference in the type of porn that they talk about in that situation, where it's like regular, not that it's okay, but like there's the raunchy, like bondage, like, just like multiple partner, and then the one that I guess they said some therapist has recommended is like a husband and a wife being normal. But I think I look at it as like marijuana being like a gateway drug, where it's like you start viewing things and I've read tons of studies where it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. So I just wonder if a couple who never really looked at it and a therapist is like, oh yeah, you should do this to spice up things and maybe you'll be more interested. And then all of a sudden one partner's like, wait a minute, like, oh, I stumbled upon this when I'm trying to find this, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. So I would be leery about that. And I don't know.
Well, I think you made an awesome point that, like with marijuana, it's like it's legal. You know what I'm saying? For example, the pornography, that therapist, they could justify and say, well, my therapist did it. They prescribed it, and then, like you said, that just leads into, I think, deeper and deeper. And I think whenever you speak about the contrary, whenever you find reasons to use pornography, I think that it goes deeper and deeper into an issue that becomes less of what you had started with, you know, less of trying to help your marriage find communication, but more of a selfish and personal use to find gratification or satisfaction within whatever you're viewing.
Well, and what are you attracted to? Like, is your partner's like, are you attracted to your partner or is something else making you feel that way? Like, it's almost artificial to me.
Oh, I 100% agree. So. I know when I was reading opposing views, it talks about it improves your communication. When I was trying to write it to my husband, and I didn't tell him that I was doing an opposing view. Is it working?
Yeah.
Oh, and he was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? It's like, I had to, him. But did it convince you? And he was like, yeah, totally did. He was not a fan of that. I was like, I would just have a hard time being able to get up and like put up the contrary and up about the contrary perspective, because I don't see benefit in it.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
I'm trying to think of more questions too, and I'm just like, I don't know what to ask. Did you find it hard to find like a lot of information on laws? Like it's so touchy, like, and it's so like, I don't know, there's nothing that's in concrete. It just seems like it's so up in the air that I couldn't really find a lot of information on like exact laws.
The only thing that pulled up was the child pornography. And then I was talking about it with my brother. So I'm here with my brother-in-law, my sister, my husband, and we were just talking because I wanted their opinions about, you know, what ways do you think the government could make a law, or how this could become that it's regulated or whatever. And the first thing they said is that you need to have people in there that would even care and see it as a harm to the family. But even then it goes, you know, how could you regulate that? Because it's become so excessive. It's not just stores anymore, you know. It's not where you could shut down all the stores and then it's not accessible, but it's all over the internet. And I think, and that's like so, I feel like depressing to think, but I don't feel like there's really ever going to be a law that will prevent, other than like, I think maybe certain policies that may encourage families to be more connected or to not, you know, but I don't know if there's ever going to be a law, although I'm sure even child pornography, people still view it.
Yeah. And I think too, it's, even if they had law, how do you regulate, how do you enforce it? Because it's just so huge. I mean, you can't, I know other countries, I was reading, and there's other countries that have stricter laws. And I think even the UK, which they tend to be a little more, like Europe tends to be a little more liberal about stuff like that. But they even have a little bit more stricter laws with certain things, like when it gets really raunchy. But I just think, you know, it just, I look at it and people say, well, why don't we have laws? What was it? There's a city law in my city about how you have to have a nice front yard. But I notice a lot of people don't have nice front yards because they don't have enough manpower to regulate it. And so unless someone complains about it, they can't do anything about it. And I think it's the same for everything. Like how it's such a huge industry. It's so many people. I mean, what was that stat I used? Like 40 million people, or I don't even remember what it was, but like so many people use it that how are you going to regulate it? It's just not, and there's the whole dark web and there's just like all this stuff. So yeah.
Well, I think that's the thing too, is that, you know, they might put attention on that for a minute, and then like within the government, they might put attention on pornography as well, but it doesn't personally affect them. It's kind of like, well, it's not really affecting anyone else except for them personally, so what's the big deal? Or, you know, as for like abortion, it's like that decreases the number of people that are being born, and it affects, I think, more so in a more like evident way, unfortunately. But I just think until it affects people personally, they don't become passionate really about it, and they don't. I mean, I didn't. Like, when people would talk about it, I can be like, oh, okay, it's your own choice, you do whatever. And then when it happened in my own family, I was like, oh my gosh, how does it loop people in like this? And how does it start to ruin their lives? I don't get it. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think another thing, too, that I was surprised by is that did you have a hard time finding pros for pornography?
Yes.
Because I was
had a hard time this whole entire.
It was just weird because it's like, if it's so common and it's so like out there, there's so many things against it, yet there's hardly anything for it. Like, my stance was like, I got a good grade on my paper, but my stance was kind of weird. It was coming from like a feminist view, like, these are our bodies and we're finally liberated and we can do what we want. And I was like, I thought I was really pushing it, but I guess I did okay with it. But some of the things were so far-fetched. I'm like, are these even arguments? Because it wouldn't convince me, but I tried my best and I did fine with it. But I found it was hard to find like information on pro pornography, because, and I think that's what I wrote like in my speech, is that we talk about it and we joke, like you watch an episode of Friends and they're like, oh, we get porn for free on our TV, and it's like, it's a joke, but when we really dig deep, people don't talk about the deep.
No. Or when you're seriously addressing it, like, like not joking, like, they don't do that.
Yep.
It's all like casual fun, and that's how people view it. So they don't see it as a problem until you start to follow their like pattern of like, you know what I'm saying, of like just long-term effects. Like you just said, of your brother-in-law, and I'm sure that it'll affect my brother in some sort of way, as it has been these past 4 years. So he's been since viewing it. You know, I just think that it's always going to be this long-term effect, and so I know it was not fun. It was very educational. It's not a fun topic.
Yeah. No.
To search for the pros or.
Every once in a while, too, you'll look up something and you'll get this like girl in lingerie, and I'm like, no, I don't want this. So I was like, definitely stick to the journals. I'm sticking to the journals, the scholarly stuff. So, yeah. So, did we ask enough questions, do you think, or do you have any more?
No, I think so. I think we were good, and I think that it was more discussion type.
So how do I do this? Like, I end it, and then how do I send the link to her?
So there should be, so that, I know you and I both go with Zoom.
I know, I'm like, what if this whole thing, I lose it?
Oh gosh. Someone once told me, when you stop recording,
I'm like, maybe I can look it up.
I actually, you know, I did it that one time. I know I did Google it. How do you?
Oh, here's this. It says, so you made a Zoom meeting. Now what? Let's see.
Oh, did you find it?
Sharing, with or without editing. Let's see, recordings, upload. Oh, I think it's under my account. It says sign in. It says click on my recordings, and then I can share under any recording. Okay, so it's going to automatically save to my account, right?
Yes, but you have to do that before the 40 minutes, or else you'll be. That's what happened to me with our one meeting.
Okay.
So.
Okay, I'll get the link right away.
Okay, and then we have to do the peer review.
Right. So, cool. All right.
That's pretty much it. Thank you so much.
Now you can relax.
Well, no, because now I have this huge proposal due for my Psych 302 class, and it's due on Friday, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's so much more work than I thought.
I think, which class is that? Is that the research methods class? That was one of my least favorite classes.
Wait, hold on. Real quick, I'm so confused. Are we actually writing out a whole, like, I thought we were only doing the beginning, and this is if you go into Psych 435 or something like that, you actually do it. Or are we actually writing out our whole entire research plan?
We're doing the whole plan, and then you stop before you, like, actually conduct the research part of it. It's not really it's not that bad. It's honestly not that bad. Like, really.
I'm in the middle of writing my proposal.
Yeah, I hated that class, to be honest. I'm like, I'm not doing research like that, so.
No, I am not moving on. So.
You'll be okay. You'll be fine.
Okay, thank you, Tanya. I appreciate it.
All right, see you later.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.